So, ladies and gentlemen, dear delegates, good afternoon. Hope you had a good night's sleep and a nice morning. I'm pleased to see you all for this second day of our meeting. And before going back to our agenda with the examination of item 4, I would like to come back to a specific question that was raised by the delegation of Brazil yesterday, and I understand that the Secretariat is ready to provide information. So, Tim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. So, indeed, yesterday there was a first question raised, I believe, by the delegation of Brazil regarding the success rate of proposals submitted to the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices. So, the team did a bit of homework, and since 2009, the committee has examined 42 proposals to the register, and 33 of those have been selected, 9 have been referred or not selected. This means that it's 79% of the proposals examined were selected. Just as a comparison, just for the sake of information, again, since 2009, for the representative list, the committee has examined 462 nominations, which doesn't include the former masterpieces, and 387 have been inscribed and 75 referred or not inscribed, which represents 84% of those going through. And then there was a second question raised concerning the submission of nomination in the country's or in the community's language, And as I mentioned yesterday, the global reflection on the listing mechanisms has made it now possible for states to submit nominations in languages on top of English and French. So you still need to submit in either English or French, but you may also give the language of the community, which will be put on the website. And so this year, 2024, is the first time that nominations have been submitted in other languages that are recognized under the system, and we have received a nomination in Vietnamese. But just for information, in the past we have received files in other languages, 40 of these, including in Arabic, Awajun, Chinese, Maya, Russian, Spanish, Totonac, Ukrainian, and again Vietnamese. But in the past we didn't have the provision of making those available online, so now all of those will go online with it. That applies both to the register and, of course, to the other lists. So I hope this answers the questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yes. So I ask the Honourable Delegate of Brazil, are you happy with the information given by the Secretariat? Thank you. So let us now move to our next item of business. Dear colleagues, let's start the final part of our work, adoption of the recommendations of the open-ended intergovernmental working group. Yesterday we had fruitful discussions on topics 1, 2 and 3 and reached consensus on several important aspects. Based on these discussions, the Secretariat drafted a set of recommendations that was shared with the Bureau overnight. This morning, the Bureau met to review each paragraph of the draft recommendations and undertook necessary adjustments. We had a 2-hour-long meeting, but a very fruitful meeting, so that's why the documents were sent out a bit late, and I'm sorry for that. Hope you have been able to read it through all of them. In my view, it was an excellent working session, and I thank each member of the Bureau for constructive suggestions and the spirit of cooperation. After the Bureau meeting, the Secretariat shared with all the state parties the draft recommendations as suggested by the Bureau. Bureau members had rich discussions this morning, so the recommendations could only be sent a short while ago. But as I said, I trust you received the documents. State parties have been encouraged to send written amendments in order to facilitate our debates this afternoon. And as far as I know, we have one amendment from Germany and Switzerland. Has there been anyone? 2 amendments. 2 amendments from Germany and Switzerland. Sorry. And of course, needless to say, state parties may also present amendments during our discussions this afternoon. The draft recommendations that will be shown on the screens are those that we received with the amendments already integrated within the constraints of time. And before we go further, I will ask the floor if you have any comments or statements that you want to make at this point. Palestine, please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Allow me first to congratulate the Kingdom of Sweden. I didn't do it yesterday, of being elected as a chairman of the session. And also I would like to thank the expert team on the great work that they did to reach the issue of the online platform. And Palestine is with the proposal of online platform. But yesterday I was thinking of what had been said here in this meeting, and something came to my mind. I want to share it with you all, especially after my colleague from Belgium and Brazil and also China spoke about the rights of the communities, groups, and individuals regarding the ICH heritage. We have a representative list full of ICH elements inscribed by decision of the Intergovernmental Committee and approved or adopted by the state parties. But we didn't speak about the rights of the elements, how we could protect the elements, because we are seeking the protection of communities, groups, and individuals, and we are not seeking the protection of the element itself. The element itself should be protected because it encourages the bearers to produce more and more and to be connected more and more to 2003 Convention. I'm not speaking about personal use of the ICH by persons. I'm speaking about commercial use of these ICH elements that being inscribed on the ICH representative list or angel safeguarding. Because if we could, and I think the state parties that acknowledge the issue, maybe, I don't know, but it should be, there should be steps toward enligning the rules in these states to protect the ICH element use, not by personal, I mean commercial use, which it is in line with the 2030 SDGs, because we are seeking sustainable development for the also bearers. This is the point that I was going to talk about, and I think it is, in a way, maybe it is in line with the exchange of experience on the online platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Palestine. Yeah, you raised an important issue, of course, so we take note of that. So allow me to recall that this text, as I mentioned before, will be included as an annex at the end of the working document number 4, report to the Intergovernmental Committee. And our recommendations will be examined by the 18th session of the Intergovernmental Committee to be held from the 4th to the 9th of December 2023 in Kasane in the Republic of Botswana. In order to facilitate our debates, I will rely upon your cooperation in keeping your remarks concise and concrete. And you made, we had a success yesterday in this sense, so I'm looking forward to this day also. So if there is no objection, let us go paragraph by paragraph, starting with paragraph 1. Do we have paragraphs ready? Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm.
So we'll go adopted. We'll put adopted once it's adopted.
Yes, okay. So we'll go through paragraph by paragraph, and then afterwards, hopefully we can adopt the whole recommendation as a whole. Yes, but we'll adopt each paragraph by paragraph and then adopt the recommendation as a whole. So could we? Yes. Yes.
You want to see the whole thing now?
No, I want to see paragraph 1. Yes. Yes. Are there anyone who wants to make comments to paragraph number 1? I won't read it out loud if there is no request for that. Or I see no objection or comment, so adopted. Then let's go to paragraph number 2. Which is also basically describing the process this far. Oops. No comments to this paragraph from, Czechia. No? Yes. Czechia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Just a very tiny detail, in case that we finish our meeting today, maybe the date should be adjusted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Optimism.
Yeah. Yes, I appreciate the optimism from Czechia. Thank you very much. So with this possible change, would we adopt the paragraph 2? And then let's go to paragraph 3. Do you have anything you want to add to this? I see none, so adopted. Paragraph 4. Which is also a description of how the work has been carried out this far. Adopted. Anyone who wants to say something about paragraph number 5? No. Adopted. Then we come to the annex with the recommendations of the open-ended intergovernmental working group. Do we have anyone who wants to comment on that one?
I thought it was a grammatical.
Tim, do you have it?
No, I thought I had a grammatical
Okay.
error, but it's not.
That's right. Adopted. Paragraph 2 of the annex. Do we have any comments to this paragraph? Adopted. I think this far your prognosis is quite accurate, Czechia, but we'll see. So let's go to topic number 1, improving the access to and increasing the visibility of the register. I will, in this we will adopt each bullet point one by one, and then the whole paragraph, if that's okay with you. So let's start with, bullet point, or the chapeau, perhaps. Or number A. Do we have any comments to this? We have Belgium. Anyone else who wants to take the floor? I see none, so Belgium, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Yesterday I listened very well to the intervention by the colleagues from Switzerland and referring to cooperation, etc. And rethinking revising the whole item, I wonder if it's a good idea to merge P6 with P1 and P2. And I think it's much better to merge P6 with P7. And that's the kind of, to, on the one hand, focus on the description of the program's activities according to Article 2.3 and referring to the principles and objectives, and to have the further implementation as expressed in P6, to combine it with P7 and to add in that P7 this idea of cooperation. And we submitted 2 amendments for this paragraph A and for the reference to the potential merging of 6 and 7. And it's a proposal. I think it can solve a number of problems and discussions we had yesterday.
Okay, I hear from the Secretariat that they just received the amendments, so we should put them on the screen, perhaps.
Sorry, just because we've just received, I see multiple proposals in the amendment. One is amendment to paragraph A. Then there's an amendment to paragraph B. So paragraph A, you would like to read topic 1.3.
So,
a criterion P5 is to be kept as a participation, sorry.
He's touching paragraph D.
Your amendment is to paragraph, can we scroll down to the P5?
So it's to this criteria, and it's to combine criteria P1 and P3, to combine them together.
This is not the one I've received. I've received...
I've sent a few.
Okay,
So a new proposal for...
It's a different one. Sorry.
So many different things coming here. There are things, different things coming
No, so this is one, but I have to, this, topic 1.3. Sorry, because your amendments are not actually amendments on this text. They're new proposals. What I read is, instead of merging P6 with P1, it should be merged with P7. P1 and 2 could be P1, the program or activity involves safe as are reflected in the principles.
So the amendment would be to, in this paragraph, to cancel and P6 and the second bullet point, and to move it to a combined
Okay, so this is...
combination
okay.
6 and 7.
So, do you want to take it? From the floor, because this doesn't help us.
Okay. Yeah.
So this one is...
No, first we have to look at this. Instead of merging P6 with...
Yeah, this is what he's saying.
This is what he's saying.
I th
This is very complicated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can
Perhaps,
Belgium
yeah,
in there?
yes. Would we please ask you to help us to help us with what you'd like to be edited, so that we could make changes directly on the screen?
So the idea, it would read the same, but criteria P1 and P3 are to be merged in order to focus, etc.
Okay.
And the revised criterion should also refer to those operation directives. And if wanted, we can specify the ethical principles 1, 3, 4, 10, and 12, but that's not even necessary.
Okay.
So it's to move this and P6, because this was what we discussed yesterday, and it caused a number of interventions and doubts. And it's best to deal with that in relation to P7.
Okay. So just give us a few minutes to get the proposed text on the screen.
And delete the second bullet point. That's it.
So let's
Delete
recognize
P6.
Belgium, we delete
Piece and
P6
and
and
P6.
P6. Okay, so 3A, you delete and P6.
Yes, may I ask Belgium, is this according to your amendment?
Okay.
And
So this is Belgium's proposal. Is that okay?
yes, and then we will, okay.
Where to put form ICH?
Then we'll say, okay.
I don't find
Do we, do you want to comment on that? Belgium? please?
Perhaps we should, before we adopt this, look at 6 and 7. And I'm also interested in what the colleagues from Switzerland and Germany have proposed. I
Yes,
think.
but perhaps we should see the new wording under paragraph 6 then, if it's merged with
okay, then Belgium,
Criteria.
I have not finished Belgium, okay?
No, wait.
no.
Go to do this, okay? Barcode, you have a little point, form ICH03, should be revised to include, do you have to put in here? You need to include this.
Oh, there's another amendment from Belgium.
Okay.
Immediately below A, you need to include a new point by Belgium, which is form ICH03 should be revised to include. Do you have
Yes, please, Sim, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask the delegate of Belgium. We received the paragraph in red as well in your proposed amendment, but we're at the moment not suggesting to replace because one is referred to the criterion and one is referring to the forms. The criterion then have to be translated for the General Assembly to adopt, whereas the forms can be decided by the committee. So our suggestion is to keep the two as separate issues, unless you want to merge them, but it's not the same thing, the form as the criterion. Yeah.
Yes, we understand, but the form is an easier operation than trying to put it into the criterion. I think it will be very difficult to refer to these ethical principles. With the form, we achieve the same goal in a much simpler way.
May I say something?
Yes, please, Tim.
No, I understand, but if we have the two, because to change the form, we need to change the criterion. So we need, in any case, to change the criterion. If we want to merge P1 and P3, the General Assembly will have to approve that, because those are the criterion in the operational directives. At the same time, of course, we also change the form. So if we keep both these paragraphs, we can do both. Yeah.
Okay. So on the list, I have Switzerland and I have Palestine. So the floor is yours, Switzerland.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme nous avons été interpellés par le distingué délégué de la Belgique, nous voulions réagir. En fait, ce que nous avions demandé, c'est que l'esprit du critère 2 soit bien reflété dans les nouveaux critères. Si ce n'est pas dans le nouveau critère 1 qui est fusionné, ça devrait l'être dans le critère 6 et 7 fusionné. Donc en soi, il faudra voir la formulation du nouveau 6 et 7. Et nous avions trouvé très pertinent la manière dont notre intention, mais aussi celle de sortir du caractère modèle pour aller vers une source d'inspiration, avait été formulée. Donc dans l'attente, nous pourrions aussi considérer que la remarque qui était faite ici pourrait être reprise par la suite dans le cadre du critère 6 et 7 fusionnés.
Okay. Work on that. Yes, thank you, Switzerland. Palestine, the floor is yours.
I think that B2 and B4 should be merged together because the same criteria, strengthening or preserving the ICH heritage or safeguarding ICH heritage. It is the same, 2 and 4.
Yes, the proposal is that P2 is to be deleted.
So, speaking about the program and the activity and the project. And we are speaking about them also in strengthening the safeguarding of ICH.
Yeah. No, sorry, we'll finish the first paragraph and then we'll go on to criterion P2 under item B. Sorry. Do we have any? Romania, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My proposal is about the word simplified. So it's the beginning of the paragraph, because I don't know if we only simplify the form or the criteria. I think it's more like an adjustment, especially since we merge some criteria. So I'm not very happy with the word simplified. That's my take on this.
So you're adjust,
something like that. I don't know exactly if the wording is right, but it's not just a matter of simplification of this form, of this process. It's a little more than that. At least this is how it looks to me.
Okay. So the proposal from Romania is that we change simplified to adjusted in the first sentence. Do we have any more proposals, suggestions at this point? So could we? Yes, Tim, you want to make a grammatical comment?
Just a grammatical comment. If we now have the Belgium amendment, we should say criteria P1 and P3 are to be merged, not criteria P1, P3. Thank you. We'll fix that later.
Okay.
We can fix it later.
Yeah. And P3. So, are there any further comments to this, or could we adopt this item with the changes from, first of all, Romania, when it comes to write adjusted instead of simplified? I see no objection to that. And then we have the proposal from Belgium that we should delete and P6 and instead write criteria P1 and P3. And then we have a new bullet point. Yeah. Scroll, yes. So we have a new bullet point 2, and then the earlier bullet point is erased according to the proposal from Belgium. Do we have any objections or comments to this, or should we adopt this? Okay. Adopted. Yes. Then we go to criterion P2, which is suggested to be deleted. And then we have Palestine, who, as I understand, you wanted to keep the criterion and merge it with P4. Please, Palestine, do you want to elaborate on that, on your suggestion?
I think the goal of the B2 and B4 is going to the same point of the criteria. We are speaking about strengthening or the strengthening the project, or how would the project be strengthen the efforts of safeguarding ICH, and also in point 4, when the program or the project will have the power in safeguarding the ICH. It's the same point. The 2 points are going to strengthen the preservation of or the safeguarding of ICH.
I see, but since criterion P2 is deleted, then we handle the problem that way, I guess. You may have with 2 bullet points saying basically the same thing as is now. Yeah, Tim.
Just trying to understand, because P4 as it current stands reads, the program, project or activity has demonstrated effectiveness in contributing the viability of ICH. P2 is the program, project or activity promotes coordination of efforts for safeguarding ICH on regional, sub-regional and or international level, which is the second bullet point, which was included in the second bullet point that Belgium proposed to delete and reposition. So the question then is, should it be repositioned within criterion P4, which would also satisfy the request from Palestine, or whether Belgium wishes it to be repositioned in another criterion? You see, but it's the same issue. It's the same issue, yes. And it's about where it reappears, if I may.
Belgium, please, you have the floor.
Yes, I think in P4, it's the past tense. It has demonstrated. It's something that you can document. And P2, it promotes the coordination, is more active. And the proposal is to merge P6, P7, and this idea of coordination from P2 all together in that paragraph. What can we do with this selected proposal? How can it be shared, promoting coordination, etc., etc. So the idea is to move that idea that I think our Swiss colleagues have pleaded for to integrate it into one new combination of P2, P6, and P7. And then to keep P4, because it's a very important idea that it has to have demonstrated that it works. So that's why we need P4.
Okay. Yeah. So Palestine, if we make the changes the way that Belgium and Switzerland have suggested, would that be?
Yes, I'm agree with Switzerland
Yes,
and Belgium. Okay.
We adopt criterion P2 to delete P2.
Yeah.
We adopt P.
Okay. Then I understand that we can all agree on deleting criterion P2, as written on the screen.
We have ICH and J4. Do you want to give them the 4 decision or after decision?
Yes.
Normally they wouldn't decide.
No. I see that the ICH forum has asked for the floor, but I will do like this. We will go through each of the bullet points under this paragraph, and at the end you will be able to comment on this paragraph. Is it okay? Yeah. So, can we now adopt bullet point B? Adopted. Yes. Adopted B. Oh, sorry.
Can you give us 1 second? Is that this should be the technical?
Yeah. We need to solve some technical issues, so.
We need 1 minute because the mouse is not, we cannot type.
The mouse is not working for the English.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we'll do it. Sorry, we've had the English computers had to be shut down. The French is still working, but so we're not able to type. We need a couple of minutes on the English language computer. Yeah.
Apologies for this, dear delegates. Now we have 2 working computers for each language. I'm glad to see. So let's move on to criterion 4, which is to be kept, but the form ICH 03 should be revised to include a description of the initial situation which called for the safeguarding. Do we have any? Sorry, you have to tell me if you have a new amendment for this. No. There are no amendments, and I see no raised hands in the room, so adopted. Then we move on to criterion P5, who is also suggested to be kept. So we have Belgium. Please, you have the floor.
I think it's a very good idea to refer in form ICH 03 to this notion of free, prior, and if it's going on, sustained and informed consent. But it's not yet in the criterion. So I think we should add the word sustained in the criterion, and that's the proposal, to do with their free, prior, sustained and informed consent, and then it all makes sense. So and the amendment is to add the word.
So the free, prior, sorry once again, on the free, prior, sustained.
It's to add after requirement for selection, and to add the word sustained in between prior and informed in the criterion P5.
Yeah, thank you. We'll soon have it on the screen.
No, just type it. Just type it. Requirement for selection and the word sustained. Sustained should be added, and the word sustained should be added between no, other word sustained should be added between prior and informed.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
So the sentence is.
Between prior and informed.
Okay.
Prior and informed.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
This is okay.
So the new sentence is, criterion P5 is to be kept as the participation of the community is concerned, should remain an important requirement for selection, and the word sustained should be added between prior and informed. That's according to your. Do we have any comments to that? Okay.
It's okay. We'll fix it.
We'll fix it later. Yep, I see no objections to this. Adopted. Oof. I shouldn't use the hammer then. Okay, let's. Yes, let's go on to criterion number P7, where we have an amendment from Belgium. No. We don't.
Do we?
I think the P6, shouldn't it be merged with the.
There's so many Belgium?
No. Okay.
This is very difficult because we don't have to fix.
Okay. Can I read what we got? Or maybe.
Yeah.
I'll give the floor to Belgium.
Okay. Belgium, you have the floor.
Perhaps I should explain the idea. In P7, it refers to the commitment of the submitting state parties, implementing bodies, communities, groups, and individuals to take part in dissemination of their practice, and that they confirm, if they are selected, that they are willing to take up a role in the dissemination of good practices and developing and then we are in uncharted terrain, and developing it as a model, a source of inspiration, or as an occasion for collaboration and cooperation, to combine all these ideas. So what we ask in this criterion, if you are selected, will you cooperate as a state or as a community in the idea of disseminating, sharing, cooperating, etc. That's what is requested in this criteria. So if you propose something for this list, then you are expressing your approval to work together with others around this community. This is the idea. And this is a combination of P2, P6, P7.
Thank you. Yes, please, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the delegation of Belgium. What we received seems to be a new drafting of the actual criterion, whereas here we're trying to draft recommendations. The criterion are then presented. So perhaps it would work, and I'm proposing that we pick what we deleted in the earlier paragraph and add that, saying the criterion should also reflect, so that we recoup what was deleted, if I understand that was the idea. So if I could ask my colleagues to go back up to the B point or A point, I can't remember. Could you please scroll up? That this deleted part, delete that, I mean copy that, copy that,
Bring it down.
yes, and we bring it down and we add it to what is there, so that then we can propose a criterion for the thing which has all of these concepts together. I don't know if that would satisfy the delegate of Belgium, but I understand this is what's trying to happen.
No, leave it. The revised should also demonstrate.
Okay, now we have the new text on the screen. Belgium, do you want to comment on the...
Yes, thank you very much for the proposal. We wouldn't like to lose the idea of the implementing bodies, which is already in P7. So it's not only the state parties and communities, but also all these other actors, NGOs, etc., that can help in implementing this idea. So it's already in P7, so not only the state parties, but also implementing bodies and communities, groups, and individuals.
Okay.
So if it was states, parties, communities, and other stakeholders?
Yes, why not?
State parties, communities, and other stakeholders. Would that work?
That's okay.
That's okay with you, Belgium. Do we have any? I see the Netherlands. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. We have a small comment. We totally agree with combining the two criteria, but maybe it should also be mentioned it's a combination between criteria 6 and 7, because now the text of 6 is adjusted.
Good point. Yeah.
Maybe we could suggest where to.
What about we say, criteria P6 and P7
Okay.
are to be merged to
Yeah.
be adjusted?
Sorry, if you Just to pick up on this idea, if I may, Mr. Chair, if it was to read criterion P6 and P7 are to be merged, P6 and 7, P6 and P7 are to be merged and are to be merged and adjusted to refer to good practices instead of best practices. The revised criterion should be, would this work here?
It's okay with you, Nellis? Yes? Okay, do we have any other suggestions regarding this? Number E? Then adopted. The next item is criterion P8, which is also to be deleted. With reference to paragraph 4, criterion 4, sorry. Any objections to that? Adopted. Yes. Now, for the next, for G, we have two suggestions reflecting the discussions that we had yesterday. One is to keep the current chapeau using the word best. And the second proposal is that we adjust the current chapeau so it's clear that the proposal should satisfy all of the 4 criteria, or yeah, it's still 4 criteria, I guess.
I'm suggesting we separate the 2 paragraphs so we can discuss each one.
Yes, we will just, yeah. We'll just make an adjustment to the text, so we'll separate the 2 paragraphs, making it easier to read.
That's 2 bullet points.
Yeah, for 2.
Even the first one,
2 bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
and give a bit of a space between.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we have to go for one or the other.
So I would like us to choose one or the other. We'll see if we can reach a consensus. Since I don't want to, I want us to have one proposal from this working group. I see, I don't know if we have a list of speakers. I see that Belgium has asked for the floor. I see that Czechia has asked for the floor. Do we have anyone at this who wants to comment right now? We have Austria, Belgium, Czechia, Austria. Yeah, okay. We'll start with Belgium. You have the floor. So.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I think when drafting the original operation directives, this word best sneaked in because there was an analogy with best practices. And actually, we are saying we make a hierarchy between all those programs, and it's in the spirit of the convention not to make hierarchies. And that's why, to make it an elegant solution, that we just copy the text from paragraph 1 of the operation directive and paragraph 2 that just says satisfy all of the following criteria. And then we have 3, and it makes sense, I think. So if we just copy the same words as in paragraph 1 and paragraph 2.
Okay. Yeah. Czechia, please. Thank you. Thank you, Belgium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I don't know whether the word best sneaked into the original version, but my understanding was after yesterday's explanation that in fact the current practice is that with the 9 criteria, the interpretation of this phrase should best satisfy all criteria means that in fact not all the criteria need to be satisfied. So if it is the case, we definitely support a version which clearly indicates that all 4, or I don't know how many now the criteria will be, 4 or 5, need to be met. But as we at this stage don't know how the new criteria will look like, but I have heard that you want this group to decide for one version, but I would wonder whether it would be wise to keep this decision for the committee when they see how the new criteria look like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Czechia. Of course, the decision is made at the committee meeting, but and the GA later on. So I think it is a good idea that we don't leave too many questions open. But yes, Tim, please clarify.
Yeah, just to clarify on what was said, and just, I think people need to understand clearly what this word implies best. Indeed, whatever its origins were when the texts were first drafted, the way it's been applied is in the first case, the present system, not all of the criteria necessarily need to be satisfied individually for the evaluation body to make an overall recommendation. In contradistinction to the urgent safeguarding list and the representative list, we're all satisfied. The option B would mean that with the reduced number of criterion, they should all be satisfied in order to be positively recommended. And this is the two options being presented, and that would align them with how it works for the other two lists and make a difference with how it's been practiced until now. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for clarifying that. Mr. Secretary, we have Austria on the list.
Thank
You
you.
have the floor.
Austria will definitely go with the consensus, whatever we decide here. Our consideration is that basically we have the basic requirements here in these 4 reduced criteria, what we would like to have. We would like to have like a safeguarding plan, we would like to have involved communities, we would like to have a reference to ICH and the convention. So maybe I can formulate it the other way around. Which criterion do you think might be kind of skipped, and still fulfill the approval of the register? So basically, we rather are for this second option, that it should satisfy the 4 reduced criteria. We might cut out the all, because of course we mean all then, but I think the basic requirements are these 4 criteria, unless we think that something is not so important. But then we might even cut it out from the beginning.
Yes,
so, but we are flexible.
Thank you, Austria. We have Brazil on the list. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to, first of all, to commend the Secretariat and members of the Bureau for this work on the criteria. We believe that perhaps with these 4 simplified criteria, we have touched the core of what would be a good practice to be shared within the international community. So we would be in line to maintain the chapeau that says that all the 4 or 5, but preferentially the 4 reduced selection criteria should be satisfied to be included in the list. Thank you.
Yeah, Brazil joining that group.
Yes, thank you. Now we have 4 countries supporting the second alternative. Do we have any? Romania? Yes. We have Romania, we have Slovakia, we have Switzerland, we have Norway, we have Peru, and we have Paraguay. I see no other nameplates raised, so we'll start with
Romania.
Yes. Please, Romania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the comments of the delegate of Austria. We also support the second chapeau. Thank you.
Thank you, Romania. Next on the list, Slovakia. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As our nowadays work was aimed to merge the criteria and make them simple, we think that we really came to the conclusion that it's the basic and the most important criteria we have now. So we would also like to support the second chapeau. Thank you.
Thank you, Slovakia. And then we have Switzerland, please.
Merci. Nous sommes également en faveur de la deuxième option et nous proposons de biffer les mots 4 et réduit, parce que juste satisfaire à tous les critères de sélection.
Okay. So we have a small revision to the text. Thank you, Switzerland.
À tous les critères de sélection.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Switzerland. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I don't think this is the most important question today, but at the same time, I would prefer the first version here, because I think when you keep all and you take away best, you only move the discussion on what is it to satisfy a criteria. Because a criteria is probably not met 100%, 90%, 80%. What is making you what makes the committee satisfied?
Yeah.
So I think that what we are looking for the best representatives. We are looking for the best to be recommended. So I think that best is better than all, yeah. And more important than all.
Yeah. Yes, I think we should make a comment to that, Norway, but we'll go with the list and then get back to you. So thank you. You're in favor of the first alternative.
But it's not very important. We will go with what is decided.
Thank you. So next on the list is Peru. Peru, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, based on what has been said by the other delegations, we support the second option.
Yep.
Second option, yes.
Thank you, Peru. It was also in support of the second option. And Paraguay, please, you have the floor.
Yes. We support the fact that a proposal must meet all the following criteria.
Okay, so second option. Thank you. Thank you, Paraguay. And Estonia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would also support the second option and the slight wording change proposed by Belgium, what reads satisfies all the following selection criteria, since in the future perhaps it would be difficult to understand what does it mean for reduced selection criteria. Just satisfies all the following selection criteria. Thank you.
All of the
selection criteria. We don't know following. Oh yeah, of the following. First, yeah. Put following. Yeah, you can put. I mean.
Sorry, we satisfy all of the following.
Yes, correct. That's the same text. Yes. Yep. All of the following criteria. Yep. Following.
Thank you very much, Estonia.
It's not. If I may. Huh? Yeah.
Or do you want to take the?
Yeah.
Take the floor first, Tim, and then the Netherlands. Sorry.
If we were to fully align with the current, we would also delete selection, and it would be all of the following criteria, just to be fully aligned with what is currently there. And in fact, we would just be deleting best. So I would, in that logic, it would probably work to also delete the word selection.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And we are not working on
Yeah, sorry.
No,
sorry,
yes,
we've
please,
just
Tim.
realized we understand what you're saying, but in this text, there is no following criteria. So it should just be, so perhaps we should delete following, leave it, and then when we come to present the actual amendments, it will be in line with this. So, because otherwise this won't read properly. Yeah, yeah. So delete following. But add Estonia.
Yeah, is that okay, Estonia? Yes, you're nodding, thank you. Now the Netherlands again. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We would also align us with the rest of the speakers for option 2 and also agree with Tim just mentioned.
Mm. Okay, thank you. Does any... Yeah. Do we have anyone who...
Oh, sorry, Poland.
Poland, sorry.
Poland would like to support option 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Poland. So we have Jamaica. Sorry, do we have any more further?
Supporting option 2.
Thank you. Jamaica supports option 2. And we have, sorry?
Huh?
Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Yes. Yes, Tunisia,
Merci.
you have the floor.
Pour éviter toute ambiguïté, notamment pour le mot réduit, donc nous appuyons la deuxième option.
So Tunisia with Swiss, Estonia, and on top of that. Okay, I think if Norway agrees, then we have consensus.
Yes, thank you. We almost have a consensus. Sorry, Vietnam, you asked for the floor. And
thank you, Chair. We are agreeable with the option 2 and agreeable to the wording that team suggests. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vietnam. And we also have Ukraine who asked for the floor. Please, the floor is yours. Ukraine.
Merci beaucoup. C'est juste pour supporter la version du chapeau et tous les critères, la version de Suisse, Estonie, Tunisie et Vietnam. Merci.
Thank you. Norway.
Thank you, Chairperson. I see no reason to keep option 1 as long as so many gather around option 2. I think you only move the discussion, but there's no reason for us to stand on option 1.
Okay. So the proposal is that we delete option 1 and we use the text under option 2 as the proposal that we will give to the committee. No objections to that? Adopted. Thank you very much. Yes, then we're moving on to paragraph. Oh. Ah, there it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would ask you, Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to add to this, to the process leading on to?
Again, perhaps just to explain the process from here, the recommendations you will agree on will be all presented to the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those recommendations will require amendments to the operational directives, so they will be accompanied with proposed amendments to the operational directives. Some of them may just be changes in forms or committee decisions. And we will work, of course, as we always do, with our legal department to make sure that we have clarity on which ones go where, and so that we present a package to the committee, because only the committee can propose the revised operational directives to the General Assembly, which is to be held in June next year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, my bad. We said that we should adopt paragraph 3 as a whole, and we haven't done that yet. And I also promised that we would, I would give the floor to the ICH NGO Forum. So I'm deeply sorry for, it was my mistake, but no neglect. So, yes, so I will, before we adopt it, I will leave the floor to the ICH NGO Forum, and then hopefully we can adopt the whole paragraph 3. Okay, yeah. Okay, well.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much for that. It was really one word, and I now have to find the paragraph that we were talking about. It was the word adjust, with regard to, sorry, I think it must be paragraph E, which in the initial version was a very short suggestion, and then became a much longer change. The change became much more substantial. And I simply wanted to suggest that, yes, you've scrolled past it, E, paragraph E. And that with the degree of revision that is now proposed, you may want to reconsider use of the word adjusted, which would suggest a very small change, only that. And the word revised, for example, would be more appropriate.
Well, thank you very much. I see what you mean, but we have gone through this quite in detail, and I believe that it's that we should keep the wording as it is, since we have a consensus in the room from the delegates. But of course, it's decided on the committee meeting, so see that. I would like to go to the next paragraph 4. Yes, yeah. Yes, I know. Yes, I would like us to now adopt paragraph 3 as a whole, and then I'll give the floor to the ICH NGO Forum, if that's okay. So, can we now adopt paragraph 3 as a whole? Adopted. Now, please, we have one more intervention from the ICH NGO Forum. So, please, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Merci pour cette grosse attention, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais... c'est vrai que je sais que le plus souvent, l'UNESCO, c'est une institution aussi qui tient compte des exceptions. Le Forum n'est pas supposé soumettre des amendements, mais nous sommes autorisés, avec votre permission, espérant que cela reste recevable, approprié et convenable. On a envoyé des amendements sur le formulaire. Nous l'avons envoyé à l'adresse ICH Meeting. Et nous l'avons aussi envoyé à Marc pour une question de transparence et une autre collègue qui est dans la salle. J'espère que cela reste recevable. Il y a le critère paragraphe 2. Pour juste ne citer que ça, mais quand vous ouvrez le document, vous verrez la liste des amendements, enfin les suggestions ou amendements que nous avons souhaité être pris en compte. Merci.
Yes, thank you. I think we just closed the discussion on, was that for paragraph 2, sir, that you mentioned? But we have already decided on that, but we'll take note, sorry.
Okay. Merci, mais j'espère qu'il y aurait une possibilité de tenir compte des autres amendements. Merci.
Okay. Tim, please.
I just wanted to say all amendments or proposed amendments, whether they're receivable or not receivable, this is for the states to discuss. But the ICH meetings is not the correct email. We will not be checking the ICH meetings email. there is an ICH amendments email address, which is the address to send the amendments. The question, of course, is yours, Mr. Chair, to ascertain. But we are not checking, just for clarity, ICH meetings. That's a separate email address. Thank you.
Okay. Mais je me suis autorisé à les envoyer à vos collègues, Leandro, notre point contact focal. Merci.
But for statutory meetings, we ask that all be submitted to ICH amendments because we're unable to chase up on the individual emails of individual colleagues. So the state parties, we will only be putting up amendments received at the ICH amendments email address. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, thank you, ICH NGO Forum.
Merci.
Are you okay? Well, I suggest that we move on to paragraph 4, which is soon to be shown on the screen. And you already commented on that, Tim. Do we have any other questions or suggestions? I see none. Adopted. And then we go on to another paragraph where we have two alternatives, which where we have to leave some room for discussion in the room. The first one is that the suggestion that the registers should be separated from the listing system, so it's not in competition, so to speak, with the nominations of to the representative list and the urgent safeguarding list. The other alternative or suggestion to the committee is that we have already had an extensive discussion within the framework of the global reflection on the listing mechanisms, so the issue should not be reopened during this process. So those are the two alternatives.
We have received an amendment.
Yes. Yes, and we have received an amendment from Germany and Switzerland already. Could we put it up on the screen? Okay.
Well,
I think perhaps we should have the amendment first. Or should we read it?
Just put it on.
Just a moment.
Austria wants the floor, but we should ask them to present their amendment.
Yes, Austria has asked for the floor. I will just ask Switzerland and or Germany to present their amendments first. Would we have it on the screen?
No, on the first one, and delete it.
Ah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes, please, Switzerland, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La discussion a été, enfin, la question a été discutée hier très sommairement, c'est pour ça qu'on souhaite y revenir. On a mené une réflexion approfondie sur les mécanismes d'inscription entre 2018 et 2022, qui a permis de formuler des adaptations qui ont été approuvées lors de l'Assemblée générale en 2022. Ces adaptations viennent d'être mises en place, viennent d'être mises en œuvre, et il convient de laisser ce nouveau système se mettre en place. Il est nécessaire de considérer le processus d'inscription pour les trois listes dans leur ensemble pour éviter de surcharger ou de complexifier le travail de nos organes et en particulier celui de l'organe d'évaluation. Pour rendre le registre plus visible et plus attractif, il faut le maintenir dans le système d'inscription actuel et ne surtout pas le dissocier. Dès lors, les délégations de l'Allemagne et de la Suisse proposent de ne pas rouvrir le débat sur les mécanismes d'inscription et donc de biffer la première option et ne pas la soumettre au comité. Merci.
Thank you very much. Switzerland, who are in favor of the second option. Austria is next on my list. You have the floor, Austria.
Having heard what Switzerland has said, but apart from that, we would have a question concerning what would be the implications of having the other option. For instance, what would it entail if we separated it? Would it make life easier for the applicants, for the communities? Or would it make the selection process easier, maybe not going through the evaluation body? So what are your deliberations or the experts' deliberations on this first option by separating it?
Yeah, should we gather some of the questions? We have a question from Austria, the implications of choosing the first option, and then I go to. We'll answer that when the other ones have made their remarks. We have Kazakhstan next on the list. Please, Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While for my country, the issue of the importance of the register of good safeguarding practice is on the top priority, But having really being part to the extensive discussions on this issue, Kazakhstan would like to support Germany and Switzerland.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. Next on my list is Algeria and then Japan. Algeria, please, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vais être bref et je souhaiterais que le nom de l'Algérie soit ajouté à celui de l'Allemagne, de la Suisse et du Kazakhstan. Nous soutenons aussi cette option. Effectivement, nous avons pris part aux discussions très étendues sur les listes et nous avons atteint un équilibre précaire en la question. Il serait très risqué et fastidieux de réouvrir cette question aujourd'hui. Donc nous souhaitons garder le statu quo à ce sujet. Sur la même idée, un de mes estimés collègues ici présents a parlé de s'éloigner de cette idée de best practices qui donne l'idée d'avoir une super liste à côté de la représentative. Et je pense que traiter différemment le registre des deux autres listes lui donnerait justement cette onction de super liste, et ce que nous souhaiterions à tout prix éviter. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Algeria. Next on my list is Japan. Please, Japan, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor, Mr. Chair. As for the listing mechanism, it is a result of long-standing efforts by the Secretariat and state bodies, and it is now in the process of reflection. For this reason, we are convinced that now is not the appropriate time to consider its review. The issue should not be reopened at this time. We are aware that there was a consensus in yesterday discussions. The time is needed to fully examine this reflection process on Article 18. Japan would like to support the proposal of the Germany and so on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Japan. Belgium, you have the floor.
I think the formulation is a bit confusing because what is at stake here is the ceiling of the number of nominations that can be dealt with each cycle. I think that's behind it, and that's how I interpret this word competition. So that's behind, but as it stands now, and I understand what Germany and Switzerland have been doing, we do not want to separate this register because we will treat the platform, and we will start the platform by combining the different list systems. So the idea is not to take this register out of this combination with Articles 16 and 17, but what is at stake here is this ceiling. So I think, and perhaps it's a euphemism, but now it says whether the register of good safeguarding should be separated from the listing system. But what are we talking about? These three lists, or the fact how many files can be treated by the Secretariat and the evaluation body? So there's some ambiguity here, I think.
Yes. Should that be more specified? Okay.
Let's hear everybody.
Yeah. We'll get back to that question, Belgium. Thank you very much. Next on my list is Czechia. You have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. C'est seulement pour soutenir la position de l'Allemagne, Suisse, soutenue déjà par Kazakhstan, Algérie et Japon. Merci.
Thank you, Czechia. And Vietnam.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me floor. So I would like to support like the second option, but I also want to Vietnamese views that the current practice is work perfectly. So we need some time. So we are in line with the Swiss college. We need some time to reflect it again. And so we also thank you for Belgium's for very forward-looking for the discussion. So can we put some word taking consideration of the content during the opening working group? Thank you, Chair.
Can we perhaps find a wording?
We'll find a softer wording in the second paragraph.
Okay. We'll yes, we'll find a wording that satisfies your needs. Okay. So next on my list is Sweden and then Brazil. Yes, Sweden. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Sweden would like to support the amendment from Switzerland and Germany. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. And now Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I believe that you are not in the point to take a decision on this item because you have not received the answers that were asked by the distinguished representative of Austria on this item. We echo the concerns of Belgium and also Vietnam. We don't know what the implications will be. We believe that perhaps this has some budgetary implication. So we perhaps need more reflection on this item. We prefer to understand the point of view from Switzerland and from Germany. And in Tez, we agree with this point of view. But we'd like to hear from the Secretariat what's the budgetary implications, if there's an implication on the ceiling, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, we have a few questions that have been raised, and I think it's a good time now for the Secretariat to give their views on those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And indeed, there's many questions that this suggestion poses in relation to the discussions that happened in the open-ended working group. And indeed, the delegate of Belgium was correct that it is related, importantly related to the ceiling that has now been adopted by the General Assembly, which was the result of many discussions. The implications of going beyond that ceiling are what would be essentially reopening the listing mechanisms, and these issues were discussed. And whether so to go beyond the ceiling of 60 is at the current, with the current conjecture of the evaluation body, with the current setup, what was agreed was really not possible at the moment. So it would require reopening, probably a new evaluation body, a new processing and a parallel processing system, and the implications of that are huge, and it would indeed be going back to the same discussions we had over the 3 years of reflection of the open-ended working group. The other option might be, and this still touches on the decisions that were made in the open-ended working group on the listing mechanisms, would be to prioritize the space within the 60 just for the register of good safeguarding practices. But we would still have issues of prioritization. So would the suggestion be 40 for the two lists and 20 for the good safeguarding practices? And then in that case, can states put in both? How do we prioritize between the states? So we come back to these debates that were held over 3 years, and where a consensus was achieved, and was achieved at the General Assembly. So, and that's one option, that's to try to create a space within the 60. That doesn't require then changing the evaluation body and the broader functioning of the evaluation system. The other option is, at this stage, if I may be a little direct, seems not very feasible, which is creating a new evaluation body, a parallel system, and going above the 60, which we already discussed a lot. And so we'd be going back to those discussions. So those are the implications we see. Maybe one day, maybe in a new thing, but I have to be a little bit direct about what I perceive to be possible and feasible in relation to what was agreed in the previous open-ended working group. And if I may, the platform allows a little bit of an escape valve from that, because we're not asking for UNESCO designations. But if you remember, the discussions were, do we lighten the evaluation process to allow for more files? And we reduced the amount of evaluation, and what was the consensus was no, we do want evaluation. So these are the implications of this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I have, now just to get the list in order, I have Austria who asked for the floor, I have Vietnam who asked for the floor right now, and I have Belgium. So I give the floor to Austria to begin with.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for this clear explanation. Austria would like to join the group led by Germany and Switzerland on this option 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Austria. Vietnam? Sorry, you don't. Okay, so we have Belgium, and then we have Jamaica. Belgium, please.
Okay, so our comment was mainly about that notion of the listing system. I don't think it's in the operation directives, and perhaps we should be precise. It's about operational directive paragraph 33 to 35. Examination of files by the committee. And so, because this listing system in scientific literature, it means other things than dealing with those files. So let's try to be more precise or define what the listing system precisely is.
Thank you, Belgium. I think since we're deleting this, I mean, this text won't be in the, or anyway reflected in the proposition to it. So then it should be expressed in another way if we want to make references to the operational directives. Well, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's just that the second paragraph says, in the global reflection on the listing mechanisms of the convention, that is the actual title of the reflection that took place. So there's no point changing it here. That refers to what it was called when it happened, which did include, perhaps not perfectly, but include discussion of the register. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if you want to make a comment on Tim's comment, just.
It's mainly about the chapeau. Should be separated from the listing system. And I wonder what
the
that
chapeau.
is.
Okay. So your suggestion would be.
What's your suggestion?
Yeah. Sorry, Belgium. Your suggestion should be. Okay.
I'd refer to the exact operational directives, or to make sure that this listing mechanism of the Convention 2018-2022 refers to something specific. For me, if I use the word listing system, it means how to use the representative list, etc., and not only how much files are treated in this procedure.
Well, yes. May I ask you? I will give the floor to the other speakers on my list, but could you? I'll give the word back to you later on if you have a distinct wording, distinct language for us. Is that okay? I see this. Yes. So next on my list is Jamaica. Jamaica, sorry for letting you wait.
Jamaica supports the view put forward by Germany and Switzerland.
Thank you, Jamaica. And then we have France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Après avoir entendu les explications très claires du secrétariat, la France soutient l'option 2 et donc soutient l'amendement allemand et suisse. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, France. We have no other who's been asking for the floor except Belgium.
The proposal would just to delete that first part of the sentence. The working group expressed that since extensive discussions. And then it has the same message. So don't refer to on the issue of whether the register should be separated to immediately start with the working group expressed. So to avoid that extra adding of the listing system. Otherwise, it's okay.
Yes, please, Tim.
I'd like to know what the recommendation from the experts was. Why don't we take the recommendation language from the experts? Because we refer to an issue. So what the experts recommended, because this is in relation to the recommendations of the expert group. If we just take the language of the expert group, and then we refer to that there's been a decision and a discussion.
Should we? Okay.
Okay, you're right. Instead of the listing session, the listing system, it said the register must be separated from the nomination process, including the priority system and annual sealing of nominations to be examined so that so may I suppose, on the issue of whether the register of goods should be separated from the nomination process, including the priority system and annual sealing of nominations to be examined. The working group, would that work now?
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect
and precise. Thank you.
And also the wording of the alternative 2 then is okay for you.
Okay, so now we're
yeah, I think we have a consensus that we should choose alternative 2. I see no one who has objected to that. Spain, please. Sorry, you have the floor.
We believe that this registry of good practices deserves special attention, and we are here to improve its scope and solve its underutilization and imbalance. One way to encourage communities to share these good practices is not to compete with the other lists, especially the representative list, which is the one with the most claims. Taking into account that it does not seem feasible to establish a parallel body to evaluate the registry of good practices, we believe that prioritization of files could be considered within the quota currently established for the evaluation body. But this is not foreseen in either of the 2 options that have been drafted.
Yes. Sorry, Spain, do you have a proposition for changed language or new texts or?
We would be more in line with the first option,
yes,
but with another reduction.
Okay, thank you. Qatar, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Qatar voudrait rajouter son nom au pays qui soutient cet amendement. Merci beaucoup.
That is alternative number 2, I guess. Yes. Yes, Tim would like to answer the question from Spain.
I understand that the proposal from Spain is therefore to consider reconsider the register of good safeguarding practices in the priorities established. But again, that's always possible. That was also part of the discussions that happened in the global reflection on the listing mechanisms. It's been discussed. There have been priorities established. Maybe one day, but perhaps a recommendation for future could consider. But then it does involve going back to that discussion, which did happen. That's the only point I would say on it. But perhaps that would be a new paragraph or something. I don't know.
Okay, did that answer your question, Spain? Yes. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So I see a vast majority, or we have a consensus with the new wording in the chapeau, that the recommendation to the committee is alternative 2. Is anyone opposed to that, or could we see this paragraph as adopted? See none? Adopted. So thank you. Before we go to paragraph number 6, I would just like to say that we have received some amendments from the ICH NGO Forum. And since this is a state party meeting, we won't, there's no right for the ICH Forum to come with amendments. But in the report that is given, we will reflect the amendments, but when it comes to the decision process, the amendments won't be included or discussed in this room. I hope this is okay with you. Yeah, fine. Okay, so we go to paragraph 6.
So this is adopted.
Yeah, yes. Paragraph 5 is adopted. Hmm? Yeah.
Paragraph 6. Paragraph 6.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mr. Secretary, do we have any amendments?
We have not received.
We have not received any amendments regarding paragraph number 6. Do we have anyone who wants to comment it in the room? I see none. Adopted. Now we move to paragraph number 7, as shown on the screen, and we have, Belgium has asked for, we have no written amendments. No, we have Belgium, and we have Austria who asked for the floor. Those are the two. So, Belgium, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for this paragraph. What we are missing a bit was a proposal that was also discussed yesterday, that perhaps this periodic reporting could be used to detect potential inspirational safeguarding practices that may be shared. And that's what we could do in that reflection year. So to make those analyses and perhaps to identify those inspirational practices that deserve extra attention. Because now it's soliciting information on the follow-up, but we have the whole body of all those periodic reports submitted, and there could be an analysis there, and perhaps we can detect interesting safeguarding practices that might be shared and launched in Article 18. And I'm missing that idea a little
Okay.
bit.
Mhm.
Sorry, I think there's... Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to comment on that? No.
Okay, I think there's... Okay, just to understand, because there was a few things yesterday said. One was this, there was an idea of there needs to be some kind of framework to monitor and follow up. So that's responding to this. I think the other is how to harvest data to find interesting practices. And I just want to see if this is... No, I think this comes later, but let's see. Or we could add another sentence. We could add another sentence rather than modify this. To consider, okay. Then perhaps after the register, just trying to accommodate this request, if we may. Perhaps after the register, included the letter, the information might also be helpful. Perhaps Belgium can help with the kind of wording you want, you know, for.
And by identifying.
Yeah.
So during? So the idea was there to use that paragraph to call for specific teams in for Article 18. To activate that operation directive that allows the committee to call for something, and it could be based on the analysis of the periodic reporting. And behind that, if you think about the platform, perhaps the platform could also be fed by interesting examples that have been detected in the periodic report. So I know it's a heavy system, but it's an extremely rich system. So let's try to use it.
Yes, please, Tim. Do you have them?
Yeah, if I can, I think that I understand. But this is what would have to come out of the reflection in the reflection year on the periodic reporting. So maybe if we delete what we've said there, the reflection year for the periodic may provide an opportunity to consolidate the necessary changes and trigger somehow, you know, and identify ways to better use the information contained for a broader implementation of the article. You understand? So
that's the idea.
Yes. Okay. So can we say delete what is in red? The reflection year for the period may provide an opportunity to consolidate the necessary changes and identify avenues for, what are we going to say here? Identify avenues for a broader implementation of Article 18. Does that satisfy for a broader implementation of sharing good safeguarding practices? And then we leave that discussion on the modalities till then when we review, so that it comes in conjunction with the periodic reporting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and the instrument that could be used there is Operation Directive number 4.
Okay.
The fact that the committee can call for this. So I'm not sure if it should be in the text, but I hope someone will remember in the future.
It's understood. Okay. So you're happy with the new text as written on the screen? I have Ukraine and Romania. Please, Ukraine, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I forgot Austria. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So Austria, Ukraine, and Romania.
I have just a small amendment to bullet point B, and that would be the follow-up and monitoring of ongoing programs included in the register. Because at this point, we can both, state parties can submit concluded and ongoing practices, and safeguarding practices, and with concluded, I see it a little bit difficult doing a monitoring on them, so I would suggest adding ongoing programs included in the register.
Okay, so the suggestion is that by suggesting of monitoring of ongoing programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austria.
Austria and Belgium. Yeah. Sorry once again, Austria. But now, Ukraine. You have the floor.
Merci. Notre proposition, elle concerne le point A. C'est d'ajouter, après les États parties, en particulier dans les situations d'urgence. Donc, faciliter la coopération et fournir une assistance aux États parties, en particulier dans les situations d'urgence.
To facilitate access to international assistance for state parties.
With regard to implementation, at the end or is in the middle?
Sorry, once again, Ukraine. You wanted to have state parties in state of emergency after?
Yes, because I mean that this international assistance, in particular, it is important and should be highlighted for the state in emergency situations, for the state parties.
Yeah. Yes, Tim, please.
So, just to say, for state parties, with regard to the implementation of Article 18, in particular for situations of emergencies, because there's two issues here. The international assistance already has a priority for emergency situations. That already exists, and that means they can go over 100,000. The second question is whether the broader implementation of Article 18 should also be prioritized for in which case it should be at the end, if you see what I mean. So, so perhaps the proposal would be of Article 18, in particular in situations of emergencies, because if it was before, it would be perhaps in contradiction with what's already established. Just to understand, can I ask the barcode, please? Try this. In particular, in emergency situations in Ukraine. If that satisfies Ukraine, I'm not sure if that's what Ukraine is trying to say.
Yeah, so are you happy with this?
I meant initially that at the beginning of the sentence, faciliter la coopération et fournir une assistance aux États parties, en particulier dans les situations d'urgence.
Okay, sorry.
C'est au début.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put it in the beginning.
Oui.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number A. Thank you.
Maybe after communauté. Not. Yes.
Communities in communities, in particular, in emergency situations, in planning, implementing. Okay, this is the English text. Thank you, Ukraine. Now I have Romania on the list.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to add anything to the wording. We support, for sure, the words added by Belgium. And I just want to say that our opinion is that the reporting for the projects inscribed in the register is very important when they are ongoing, as my colleague from Austria mentioned. And the end of this phrase is, well, rather sad, because it is a heavy system and we know it. But in the same time, we have great expectations of the fact the system is going to be lighter. Because the convention is a living mechanism, and we expect that things will be simplified. And when they will be, it is very important for us to know about the implementation of the projects in the register. And I think this is a very important encouragement for the communities groups which are implementing them, in order to be connected with the state parties and the focal points and report about their ongoing activities. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Romania, do we have any other addition to the text or proposed changes? I see none. Then perhaps we could adopt A and B separately and then the whole paragraph. Oh, yeah, okay. No, it's not. Perhaps we could even adopt it as a whole if that's... yes, as amended on the screen. Thank you. Adopted. So now we go to topic number 2, towards the creation of an online platform for sharing good safeguarding experiences. And we start with paragraph 8. Do we have anyone who wants to raise their voice in this paragraph? I see no one. Okay. Adopted. Then we move on to paragraph 9. Belgium would like to... Okay, Belgium, please, you have the floor.
Thank you for this paragraph, but perhaps it could be formulated in a more positive way. So concerns were raised about the implementation and maintenance cost of such platforms, but also hopes were expressed to find solutions for this. So I think we should have both ideas, otherwise we kill the project before it even starts.
Okay. Yes, Romania, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Definitely, we support the emphasis of our Belgian colleague. The language here is rather light in terms of the fact, my opinion was that the group discussion yesterday, all the countries, almost all the countries spoke for the setting up of this platform. And the language that I see here is, as I said, more as a light proposal. I think really the committee should know that we are definitely in favor of this. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Should we perhaps find more sorry, Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I slightly disagree with my colleague from Romania. We need to have some idea of the costs, the preliminary costs that we heard. Yes, it's a lot of money, and we sometimes that we ask cooperation from the Secretariat, we hear that we have no money for funding activities from the GRURAC or from countries and other developing states. So if we are in line with the idea of having this platform, but we need to have some idea what the budgetary implications will be. Perhaps the counterpoint of this idea is in the para 8, that we believe that's beneficial for further operationality. So this is perhaps a counterpart of this paragraph 8. We could not go beyond and say that the whole working group is in favor of this idea, regardless the costs, the budgetary impacts that will cause for the convention.
Okay, Brazil, yeah. Does anyone else want to comment on this at this point? Yes, Belgium. Austria. Belgium and Austria.
But I also want to echo what the group in Stockholm, they came up with a whole series of proposals, for instance, calling for a new Category 2 center, etc. So there are other ways of trying to mobilize energy in the world. So try to explore a number of possibilities that are there. So, and not just, so thinking a little bit out of the box is what is needed here.
Yes, do you have a language proposal for this, or?
We hope that solutions can be found.
Okay, we hope that. That's right. So, Austria, please.
Yes, thank you. We submitted an amendment.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and it's, well, I expressed this thought yesterday at the end of the meeting, and it did not leave me, or did not leave us when we read the drafting for today, and this is the wording for the good safeguarding practices. So we have the good so we share good safeguarding through a platform, and we have the good safeguarding practices on our register, and we still don't know the relation. So we're still unsure about this relation in between each other. Is the one the UNESCO approved good safeguarding practices, and the other are the not illegitimate safeguard? I don't know. You know, this is only a thought or a concern we express here, and we'll be probably in the committee to decide how this relation goes further. But well, it still is present. Because if I think, you know, there is no incentive for the communities to nominate for this register or to do this process, this enormous process that undertakes this register, preparing a film, preparing material, if I could do it otherwise in the end. And both are dominated as good, best, whatever, good safeguarding practices. So.
Okay. Thank you, Austria. Do you want to answer Austria and the concerns raised by Brazil?
Well, I can Austria, but I can also say.
Okay. Yes.
No, I understand, and I understand the question from Austria. I mean, our understanding of the platform is that these are not UNESCO-designated good safeguarding practices. It's just a platform for sharing good safeguarding practices. And in that sense, it's arm's length. So that is how it's presented, because otherwise, the UNESCO designation does require an intergovernmental process. Okay, so what is shared on a platform is not considered UNESCO designated good safeguarding practice. Otherwise, the platform doesn't work. So the relationship is not an equal relationship. I mean, that's my understanding of it, yeah.
May I answer to that, or should I comment on it?
Yes, please, Austria.
No, it was just maybe we could, well, clever, or this could be described also for the committee in a different way, so that this thought of ours is reflected.
No. Could we find some way to express that, perhaps? Yeah, if you have that right now, Tim.
No, and perhaps for Brazil and Belgium and the discussions on the costs, we have done a preliminary assessment. There are required costs. Exactly what? I mean, I imagine those questions of costs need to be discussed in the context of the committee and the GA. And I understand the concerns. The question is whether this reflects the working group or who the concerns are raised, those are for. I don't think at this working group the issue of where the funding or how the funding or how it will be sustained, I don't think this can be resolved here. And I don't think that was the purpose of this specific working group, although those questions will arise. So maybe it needs to be reformulated a little bit in that direction, if I may suggest. And perhaps the issue of the relationship between the elements on the register of good safeguarding practices and the practices to be found on the platform might be better served in a separate paragraph, since they're not really directly linked to each other. That's just a suggestion, yeah.
The Secretariat suggests that we have a new paragraph 10 in line with the amendment from Austria.
For us, it's okay. It was just on the spot amendment. So if it's can be reflected in a new paragraph. But I have no. Give me a minute, maybe I can think of it, and if other colleagues
I'll give you a
have
minute, and during that minute, Tim wants to make an intervention.
No, I'm just wondering if for the first part of the paragraph, coming back to the financial issues and listening, whether while the working group noted that this was an interesting or worthy proposal, some raised questions rather than concerns about the financing of the implementation and maintenance costs of such a platform. It might it might not be quite as, so questions rather than concerns might be, I don't know if that's an acceptable middle ground for, you see? And then
yeah. Okay.
About the financing of, and of the implementation and maintenance costs of such a platform.
Yes.
Would that?
Yes. Belgium first, and then perhaps if Brazil wants to comment on the proposed text, changes of text. Belgium.
So we submitted an amendment expressing after a platform, but hopes and suggestions were expressed to find solutions. And what kind of suggestion? Category 2 center, the fact that UNESCO now has much more money suddenly by the return of the United States, etc. So, and other
if we can avoid that, that would be I would be happy. Yes, yes, Brazil, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. We are okay with the proposal from the Secretary of the Convention. We believe that's a good common ground for us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brazil. Yes. Now the question is, should we have a... No.
It's a completely different issue.
Okay, so we will put Austria as a next paragraph.
Can we put Austria as a separate paragraph?
It's fine with me.
Because it's two separate issues.
Okay. I propose that we have a new paragraph reflecting the amendment from, or based on the amendment from Austria. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was a suggestion on the phrasing, just adding in before. Furthermore, concerns are raised about their relation, blah blah blah, and so on.
Furthermore, concerns are raised about the relation.
Is it concerns or questions were asked? Concerns.
Yeah, perhaps questions
were asked.
Were asked as to the relation between.
Yeah.
Oh.
However, or you could put, okay, no, in that case.
It's okay. Questions were
also asked.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is one paragraph. Yeah. Sorry, no, because we're drafting in the text. So.
Okay.
In fact, it's a question was asked. No, but wait up, this is not a recommendation. Yeah. No. Perhaps no. While the working group noted that this was a worthy proposal, some raised questions
so we're back to
about the financing of the implementation of costs of such a platform, which will need to be addressed, I think, because it's a recommendation, right? So which will need to be addressed.
As well as...
a question was also asked, as to the
we would prefer questions, not a question.
Okay, I mean, if there's more questions, then we'll ask them.
There were several in the question, so I spare you the other ones.
It was one question, but we can put it as S.
Okay, so are we back to one paragraph? No, still it's new paragraph 10.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is that the working group recommends that clarification be provided on the relationship. This is what I understand. So rather than questions were asked, the working group recommends, just to try, so that we're back into our recommendations, that clarification, that the relation between the elements on the register and the practices to be bound on the platform be clarified. Would that satisfy?
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
By the Secretariat, I guess. Or?
No, well, no, that'll have to go through. Have to go through decision of committee. to be clear on those issues, I think.
Okay.
But at least we're not back in questions again.
No, okay. I'm not entirely sure who will clarify the question, but
Be clarified by the governing bodies.
Okay.
By the governing bodies of the convention. Yeah.
Okay.
Belgium.
Belgium.
Yes, I'm not sure we are completely happy with this new proposal. And what do you, we've made several times a comment about the practices on the register that are no longer active. I see it's not appearing here somewhere, so perhaps it's not an idea that people want to pick up or see. It's a reality, but in any case, so are these the questions that are being remarked, that we see in the platform that some of the practices do no longer exist? Or, so I would, it can be used in a positive and in a negative way. So I'm not sure what this proposal is driving at, or what you want to do with it.
Including, what if we add including their current viability practices? No, there's two questions.
We're still, thank you, Belgium. We're still discussing the wording.
So why don't you get the
Microphone. Do we have any other delegate who wants to comment on these two? I see Panama. Please, Panama.
Hello, since it's the first time we take the floor, we would like to congratulate you for your work. It's just a comment on the language. It sounds a bit that it can be fixed, the part that it says implementation and maintenance cost of such a platform which will need to be addressed, point. Maybe a platform will need to be addressed, because with the which it just feels like something else has to come after and it just ends. Maybe someone who is a native English speaker can help us out.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
I have a native English speaker at my side. So, Tim, please.
Well, no, because the sentence, while the working group noted that this was a worthy proposal, some raised questions about the financing of the implementation and maintenance costs of law, which will need to be addressed. Or we take out the whole first part. While the working group noted that this was a worthy proposal, the financing of the implementation and maintenance costs of such a platform will need to be addressed. And then we have to delete some raised questions. Then we keep which. So it's, if you have some raised questions, you keep which. If you remove some raised questions, you can delete which.
Okay. In Panama, you're happy with that? Yes.
We'll fix up grammar anyway.
Okay. Shall we Yeah, we'll fix up grammar later on, and you will see the new text. But as I see it, we have not.
But we have an amendment from Belgium we've received.
Okay, we just received a new amendment from Belgium. Would you please?
Yeah, we have a further amendment on that. Costs of such a platform which will need to be addressed, but hopes and suggestions. Okay, then instead of will need to be addressed, Belgium is saying the costs of such a platform, but hopes and suggestions were expressed to find solutions.
But hopes and suggestions what?
Were expressed to find solutions, and then we don't have to say which will need to be addressed. That can be deleted. That was just to finish the sentence.
Yes, do we have anyone who wishes to comment on the proposed amendment from Belgium? Are we okay with this? No, Czechia. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. On the last amendment by Belgium, I'm not sure whether I have heard any suggestions how this issue of funding could be addressed. So I'm not comfortable with putting it in the text. Thank you very much.
Yes, you proposed that the whole amendment from Belgium is deleted, or do you propose another wording? Hopes and suggestions. Okay, but hopes were expressed to find solutions. Yeah, that's positive in my.
So delete and suggestions.
Okay. Belgium, please. You have the floor.
I can express a few suggestions. United States, collaborating with NGOs and the NGO Forum, etc., etc. So let's try to find partners. It's something in collaboration. And perhaps it could also be organized more at an arm's length way. The proposal now is to basically organize it within UNESCO, with the UNESCO wages. Perhaps also there mixed solutions can be found. And I can continue if you want more suggestions.
Yes. Anyone else who wants to share their hopes or suggestions before we end this? Yes, Czechia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. I don't have any more suggestions. It seems to me that we are going into the level of detail that doesn't help us here, and that we should read this paragraph in conjunction with the para which will follow, which is number 12, that speaks about the request made by this working group concerning the Secretariat proposal. Thank you very much.
Okay, so do we think we could go to adopting this? Is it okay with Belgium to have hopes and emit suggestions? Okay, I see a consensus in the room with, then we adopt paragraph 9 and paragraph 10. Yeah.
We have amendment on 11 from Sweden. From Sweden.
Yes, you have one amendment from Sweden on paragraph 11. No other amendments? Okay, and I see no one.
We didn't have accredited NGOs? And then they went to the ICH NGO Forum.
Okay, do we have the amendment on the screen, or should I? Just a second. Well, sorry, the amendment is on the next paragraph, the new paragraph 12, that is, yes. Netherlands. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I was just noticing that the observateurs wanted to speak by the previous paragraph, and I didn't get a chance. So I would just like to mention that because I think they should have the opportunity to speak.
That's right. So before we start discussing this paragraph, I will give the floor to the ICH NGO Forum, or the observers. To the observers, sorry.
Sorry, it was me indeed. It was just a very small suggestion regarding paragraph 10, because it's mentioning elements of the register, and I think we better don't use the wording of elements when it's related to the register. So maybe we can talk about safeguarding practices or items, but not refer to the wording we use in regards to the urgent safeguarding list, and or we could use the project programs and activities as is usually formulated.
Okay. Duly noted. We shouldn't use the word elements when we're really meaning safeguarding measures. Thank you. That's a good point. We're back to paragraph 11. As showed on the screen, the old paragraph 10. Yep. And we'll. Yeah. Yes, do you have any comments to the chapeau or to the bullet points? If we start with the chapeau, Tunisia has asked for the floor, and the bullet points. Okay, so if we start with the chapeau and then the bullet points, Ukraine. So Tunisia, please, you have the floor.
Peut-être il faut ajouter les points focaux pour la Convention 2003, les ajouter à l'ensemble des personnes concernées par la plateforme. Donc on a cité les points focaux pour les rapports périodiques, mais on n'a pas cité les points focaux pour l'ensemble de la Convention 2003.
Juste pour clarifier sur ce point, effectivement, la Convention de 2005, par exemple, demande un point focal pour la Convention. Mais la Convention de 2003 n'en demande pas, demande à une institution. Il y a certains pays qui désignent un point focal, mais ce ne fait pas partie du langage de la Convention. Ce qui fait partie, c'est un point focal pour les rapports périodiques. Et c'est une différence entre la 2003 et la 2005. Et c'est pour cela qu'on ne parle pas de points focaux de la Convention 2003, parce que ce n'est pas dans le langage de la Convention, même si effectivement c'est le cas pour la 2005 et certains pays aussi désignent des points focaux pour la 2003.
Yes, may I ask you, Tunisia, do you still want us to keep...
Vous voulez qu'on dise que pour les points focaux de la 2003, là où ils sont désignés? Parce que nous, on ne les recueille pas. Hein? Donc,
Il y a en fait plusieurs traditions pour chaque pays, mais dans un certain nombre de pays, on trouve des points focaux désignés spécialement pour la mise en œuvre de la Convention de 2003.
Oui, mais nous ne les connaissons pas forcément. Donc, c'est difficile de les inviter parce qu'on ne les connaît pas. À moins que ce sont les points focaux désignés pour les rapports périodiques. C'est ça l'information qu'on reçoit.
Oui, c'est clair.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to comment the chapeau? Yes, but that's the first bullet point, as I understood. Yeah. So, okay, we go to the first bullet point.
Well, the NGO Forum wants to speak.
Yes.
Please don't present amendments.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry you did say you didn't want to speak about wording, but this is a matter which I think changes the meaning very substantially. It's the word by, concerned by elements, which gives a very strange reading in English. And it would be much preferable to have with rather than by in this particular place.
But in fact, it should be the contact person.
So that is the suggestion. Thank you very much.
Concerned with the elements. Yeah. Okay.
Can I
Yes, but Romania is waiting.
This is for concerned. No, just not concerned, delete concerned. Just, can I just say
Yes.
Just to say that the normal language, indeed, there's a bit of, that was a bit rushed, is not concerned. We don't even use the contact person's four elements is already inscribed in selected practices. And I think we should stick to the language we use in the thing.
May I? I mean, we talk about concerned communities very commonly within this context, but this phraseology is a new one, and it does give a slightly unfortunate meaning in English.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I must now give the floor to Romania, who's been waiting for a long time. So, sorry, yes. Romania, but now the floor is
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
truly
Actually,
yours.
I wanted to comment on the exact thing that the observer noticed, because I'm not a native speaker, but it didn't sound right to me, the word concerned there. So thank you to the observer for noticing that. Thank you.
So we now use as well as the contact persons. Four elements already inscribed. Okay. So I think we can now go on to the first bullet point. And I have Ukraine on the list.
Sorry, I was too fast. My comment concerns this third bullet point.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
perhaps we should. Okay, we'll wait. If anyone has anything to add or comment on the first bullet point, I see none. And bullet point number 2. I see no objection to the wording for bullet point number 2. And then number 3. Was that the one you wanted to make comments on, Ukraine?
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. In fact, we sent our amendments, but in case they weren't received, so I will comment by voice. In view of the severe consequences of the war of Russia against Ukraine and the threat to the living heritage and in particular to the communities and individuals bearing these practices, it is very important to use the potential of the Convention and Article 18 as a response mechanism. And that's why we would like to stress upon that it's not just to share experience, but also to share experience and to call attention to safeguarding living heritage in emergency situations, as well as support bearers of such practices.
Thank you. Thank you, Ukraine. Have we received
No, we
the
didn't receive, so if we can read that slowly, we'll type it.
Okay, so I don't think we received the amendment, but could you read it through slowly so we could?
Of course.
Print it
So
on the
to
screen.
share
Oh.
experience and to call attention to safeguarding living heritage in emergency situations.
The platform should also serve to share experiences and to call attention to safeguarding living heritage in emergency situations. That's the
As well as support bearers of such practices.
okay.
And in this regard, I would like also to mention that not only ongoing practices matter.
Okay, but
Thank you very much.
yeah. Thank you very much, Ukraine. So we have an addition to the bullet point number 3. Do we see any objections to the proposal from Ukraine? I see none. I will adopt it when we have gone through all of the bullet points. Then number 4.
Can we scroll, please?
Scroll, please. With reference to other there it is. To other existing applications, platforms. I see no objection to the text as is shown on the screen, so could we then adopt paragraph 11 as a whole? Adopted. Now we go to paragraph number 12. We have an amendment from Sweden. No.
That's in the second paragraph. Should we go to the chapeau?
Yeah. We start with looking at the chapeau for this paragraph. Yeah. Okay. It's very so. If we could adopt each A, B, and C, and then adopt the whole paragraph if that works for you. So we have the chapeau, which shouldn't be a problem, and then we have number A. Better highlight the safeguarding speed. Already selected. I see no. No, sorry, Palestine.
When the previous paragraph, we changed the contact person not concerned for.
Yes, so do the same, yes.
Thank you.
Contact persons, 4 elements already inscribed.
Okay, so now we're.
No, what are you doing? Four.
Yeah. Okay, so now. Yes. Okay. So should we go to number A? I see no objections to this. Adopted. Thank you. And then we have B, and we have the proposal from Palestine to change from persons concerned by or instead and use 4 instead.
As was done in the previous.
Yes, as was done in the previous paragraphs. Thank you, Tim. And we have the amendment from Sweden. Would you like to elaborate on that, on the proposed amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We would just like to propose that the ICH NGO Forum should be explicitly mentioned as an actor on the platform, as they play an important part in the implementation of the Convention and of Article 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Are there any other suggestions to make changes or additions to B? Or could we adopt this with the changes from Palestine and Sweden? Adopted. Then C. I see no. So, yeah, Belgium. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, I just have a question about identified at the national level. For instance, in Belgium, this would be a problem because we have 4 communities that can identify this, and this is not at the national level. So we try to avoid this phrasing at the national level.
Thank you, Belgium. Tim said he had a solution, so.
Identified within states parties, then we can avoid.
Within state parties, okay. Thank you. No objections to the text with the changes proposed from Belgium? Adopted. Then we go on to D, with the advisory group.
We have the same concerned by contact persons.
Yes.
Concerned by, so we should.
Okay, so we, in line with the proposal from Palestine, we should change the concern by to 4. And yes, thank you. And we also have the amendment from Sweden. Do you want to say anything to that, or is that in line with what you mentioned before? So, I see no objections. Adopted. Yes, and we've gone through all of this. So can we adopt the new paragraph number 12 as a whole?
Can you please?
Yeah, we'll scroll it through.
I'm just asking to scroll up.
Belgium, please. You have the floor.
I have a question about the last paragraph. Would there be only one plan A, or also plan B and C and D? Or at least we ask for a detailed plan, but can this also be that there would be alternatives? Or is it a yes or no question for that plan?
I think it's the next paragraph.
Okay.
We're still adopting the previous one as well.
Yes, we're still on number 12, the new number 12.
Yeah.
Adopted. So now we're, sorry, the new number 12. Now we're at paragraph number 13. So I'll leave the floor for you, Belgium. Do you have any suggestions to change? No. Should we change 10 and 11?
No. Oh, yeah, we need to update 10, 11, and 12. 10, 11, and
11 and 12.
It's also a question for the Secretariat. What kind of plan do they, or do they foresee several options?
Yes. Would the Secretariat be able to answer?
At this stage, there will have to be some options, but I still think it's going to be one plan that may contain some options. At this stage, we would be more comfortable with a detailed plan for establishing the online platform, including administrative setup as well as financial and operational implications. You may be exploring options, something like that, but you know, this depends on how, you know, first of all, what we've heard in the room. It depends on what opportunities are there in terms of financing possibilities. As you said, there's a lot going on in terms of budgets in UNESCO at the moment. We don't know the scenario, so But you know, if we intend to look for the best options possible. I would put that.
Okay. So we keep it. Now we have. Let's see. I think the Czechia first, and then Palestine. Do we have any other in the room who'd like to make comments right now? No? So please, Czechia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. I really don't want to make your life more difficult, but I've heard yesterday, I believe it was Brazil who proposed that Secretariat should also provide us with possible funding options, and I don't see there, so I would propose whether we can elaborate this end of the sentence. I guess that you have it covered by financial operation implications, but we might add at the end of the sentence and possible funding options. Thank you very much.
So, and after paragraphs 11 and 12 and other
and
finance
possible.
And other possible.
Not other. We have
No, okay, and possible financing options. So, thank you very much, Czechia, and now Palestine. You have the floor.
Thank you. Also, I was going to talk about the same as Czechia, but as well as expected financial and operational implications.
Expected. Yep.
Yeah.
Expected instead of possible. No, expected financial. Sorry, I'm getting tired.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Do we have any other comments or suggestions concerning this? Okay. Perhaps we could go on to adopting this paragraph with the changes proposed by Palestine, adding expected financial and operational implications, and Czechia, and possible funding options. I see no opposition to this. Adopted. Now for topic 3.
What time is it? Okay.
I think we should.
We can get an extra hour with the interpreters to finish tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
We can try to finish.
Yeah.
Let's try to finish with 3 minutes.
Yeah, the suggestion is that we try to finish our discussions today, not later than.
5:30. Well, we have 10 minutes. Let's see.
We have 10 minutes. Okay, we'll see how swift this process is. Any other issues? Do we have any comments or additions to paragraph number 14? I see none. Adopted. Are there any comments? Yes. I see Germany. Yes, you have the floor, Germany.
We just wanted to say that we had an amendment to topic 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a new paragraph.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't aware of
But
that.
it can come after 16, so it's no problem.
Okay. Okay. So yes, that's good. So we go through 15, 16, and then we look at the amendment from Germany. Yes. Okay. So are there any objections to paragraph 15 as written? I see none. Adopted. Yes, and then we come to the last, the second last, because we have an amendment, yes, but the last we see. Do we have any comments to this? 16, sorry. I see none. Adopted. Then let's go to the amendment that we just that we received from Germany and Switzerland. Would you, yes, Germany, you have the floor.
Yes, we would just explain a little bit what we mean with that. So we had this idea of, we have this proposal to really make a difference for the register and to raise the motivation of communities and groups to hand in proposals for this register. So to make it more attractive and to also have a obvious difference to the representative list, to enable and promote exchange programs for the ICH bureaus which are listed in this register, for the bureaus of the safeguarding practices listed in the register. So this way they could be provided with possibilities to learn from each other about their safeguarding practices face to face, from community to community. And such exchange programs would really wonderfully promote the spirit of the convention. So they could bring human beings closer together, ensure exchange and promote peace building. And such exchange could take place, for example, as a suggestion within one ICH domain, like taking into account geographical balance, so that maybe practitioners of traditional handicrafts could meet other practitioners of another traditional handicraft in a different part of the world. And so they could experience how others safeguard and transmit their practices. And such exchange of ICH practitioners could be funded through the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund, which is not utilized to its full extent right now. And this would directly help to implement the genuine intents of Article 18, namely to provide inspiration to communities around the world and to facilitate their cooperation. So we think that the funding would be useful for this project, programs and activities inscribed in the register. This way the register, or the attractiveness to apply for the register, would be raised and the difference to the other lists would be made clearer. So this just as an explanation about our proposal in this topic 3, and we hope that maybe others would support this idea. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I have on my list Belgium and then Norway. So Belgium, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. A very interesting proposal, but I don't think we inscribe ICH elements in the register. That was the point that was made earlier. So I see a problem there. And on the other hand, we already have Operation Directive 9.c that allows these kind of programs if only someone would submit a proposal. So it already exists that the committee may receive requests to support programs to organize these things. So perhaps we should draw attention to the existing Operation Directive 9.c that already exists. And I have some problems with the fact that ICA elements are included here. It causes some confusions, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Belgium. We have Norway and then Algeria.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just wanted to support the suggestion from Germany and Switzerland.
Thank you, Norway. And then Algeria, you have the floor. Sir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Autant sur le premier amendement, j'avais soutenu l'Allemagne et la Suisse, autant sur celui-là, j'ai un peu plus de mal et je ne suis pas très... I'm not comfortable. Surtout concernant l'utilisation du Fonds du patrimoine culturel. Parce qu'à notre sens, le fonds sert surtout à aider et protéger les safeguarding du patrimoine immatériel. et surtout la liste du patrimoine d'urgence. Donc nous souhaiterions que, si cela ne gêne pas beaucoup les collègues, de ne pas faire mention ici du Fonds du patrimoine culturel africain, du Fonds du patrimoine culturel immatériel. Donc nous ne sommes pas contre d'encourager plus de candidatures au registre, nous ne sommes pas contre aussi de favoriser les échanges, pas que au registre, mais pour toutes les listes et tous les éléments du patrimoine. Mais l'Algérie propose de biffer la partie concernant le fonds du patrimoine. Merci.
Okay. Yes, could we make? Yes, sorry. Yes. Could we make the changes in the text as we go on, so it's clearer to us? Thank you very much, Algeria. We have Switzerland and then Saudi Arabia. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En effet, pour la formulation qui est erronée d'éléments du patrimoine, pour le registre, il ne s'agit pas de parler d'éléments du patrimoine, mais bien, comme dans les directives opérationnelles, de parler de programmes, projets ou activités. Il faudrait donc dire les praticiens liés à des programmes, projets ou activités reconnus dans le registre. Pour clarifier aussi la remarque qui a été faite par le collègue de la Belgique, et puis par rapport à la remarque faite par le délégué de l'Algérie, nous comprenons bien la préoccupation, mais comme il a été déjà mentionné, il est déjà possible de financer ce type de programme actuellement par le biais du fonds, dans le cadre de dispositions actuelles. Donc en fait, il n'y a pas de nouveauté. Ça a été ajouté ici pour clarifier que ça ne crée pas des nouvelles obligations financières. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you very much, Switzerland. Now we have a list of speakers. First of all, Saudi Arabia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. We support the amendments made by Germany and Switzerland. And maybe a small wording change between practitioners of such practices listed in the register. Thank you.
Thanks. Have you? Slovakia. Yes, Slovakia. Please, you have the floor. Yes, Slovakia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just in order to stay within the wording, I would suggest to change the nominations for proposals to the register, and we support the amendment by Germany and Switzerland, also with the explanation of Switzerland and Belgium. It's already existing mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Slovakia. Tim, you wanted to comment on the possibility of financing.
I'm a little bit confused because I'm not really aware of a financing mechanism of the fund currently dedicated to exchange programs. So unless, I don't remember us actually ever using it. And I think that's all. I am a bit confused on that particular aspect because I don't have any recollection of this ever being used. Perhaps just appropriate funding in the same language that was used for the platform might be used here, so that I'm just saying, if there is, I just heard that this already exists. I must say I'm not quite aware of that at the moment.
Okay, perhaps we need to look into that. I have Kazakhstan on my list, and Algeria again. So Kazakhstan, you have the floor, and then Algeria.
Actually, we are being in a big favor for this intention mentioned and proposal by Germany, Switzerland, and Slovakia in order to exchange an experience. But before, can we ask Secretariat to clarify if the Belgian comment indicates that we do have procedure or any mechanism, then we may not need this paragraph, or we can reshape it. If If not, then we are facing, in my view, we are facing the possibilities that maybe we need just to recommend to look more deeply in this issue for future discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kazakhstan. I'll give the word to Algeria, and then I'll give the word to you, Tim, to answer that.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, à la lumière de l'explication que nous avons du secrétariat, et moi aussi, honnêtement, j'ai siégé longtemps au comité et je ne pense pas avoir vu une telle utilisation du fonds. Et comme je l'ai dit, je réitère mon souci. Hein. Nous sommes d'accord avec, je vois mon collègue de Suisse qui hoche la tête, et effectivement, the elements inscribed on the list of the need and urgent safeguarding sont ceux qui ont le plus besoin du fonds du patrimoine aujourd'hui. Donc, et ne les privons pas même d'une portion congrue aujourd'hui de ce fonds. Et ce que je connais des best practices, souvent ils n'ont pas besoin de funding pour exister ni pour rester en contact. Donc, à la lumière de tout ça, nous souhaiterions vraiment que si les collègues qui ont présenté cet amendement n'y voient pas d'inconvénient, que cette petite partie soit biffée concernant le funding. Et dans ce cas-là, nous rejoindrions le consensus et nous souhaiterions soutenir l'amendement, mais avec cette partie amendée, juste sans la référence au financement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think we have Vietnam and then Belgium who would like to clarify the earlier intervention. So Vietnam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. So, I think we are not clear about this mechanism exists or not. So maybe I will put the work at the ending of the paragraph, if appropriate or if applicable.
If applicable.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Belgium. Thank you, Vietnam. Belgium, you have the floor.
Yes, I think Tim Curtis is right that it hasn't been used yet, but I invite you to look at Operation Directive 9.c, where this possibility is opened. It refers to Article 21, and 21b says it also can be used for practitioners. So if somebody gets creative, they can apply.
Yes, okay, Tim?
Indeed. There is, I've never seen it done. Perhaps the wording is what it is. An appropriate share of the intangible cultural heritage could be used for this purpose seems to imply that a specific share needs to be set aside, whereas in fact, participants could make use of the international assistance mechanism would reflect the current situation, and then it could be for the Bureau and to look at the specific cases. And I think that might also alleviate some of the other concerns that it doesn't tap into the other priorities of the fund. So if you just reference to 9C, then I think that may solve it.
Thank you, Tim. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En accord avec les collègues allemands, nous sommes prêts à renoncer à cette dernière partie, tout en indiquant que les possibilités existent aussi à l'article 67 des directives opérationnelles, 67B, où là, il y a la mention de soutenir d'autres fonctions du comité, telles que mentionnées à l'article 7 de la Convention, entre autres celles relatives aux propositions mentionnées à l'article 18 de la Convention. Donc, on a la possibilité. Peut-être que ce n'est pas nécessaire de la rajouter ici. On pourrait suivre l'Algérie.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we have Tunisia who asked for the floor, and then Algeria once again. So Tunisia, please.
J'ai un peu de souci pour le mot praticien, puisque la sauvegarde parfois dépasse et déborde le cadre des praticiens et des praticiennes pour englober l'ensemble des communautés. Donc peut-être il vaut mieux remplacer le mot praticien par tout simplement les communautés.
Okay, so practitioners and communities, if we use the English words. I will give the floor to Algeria, and then perhaps we need to look at the, to have a clear view of what text we are really discussing, in what form. It's clear. Okay, thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'était juste pour remercier les collègues de l'esprit de consensus à cette heure tardive et de demander d'ajouter l'Algérie comme soutien à ce paragraphe tel qu'il est libellé à l'écran. Merci.
Okay. So, Tunisia, are you still asking for the floor, or?
Nous appuyons cette option. Donc,
you support it? Yes. Okay. So, with the amendment from Germany and Switzerland with the proposed changes, are we ready to? Okay. Yeah. Are we ready to adopt paragraph 17 as shown on the screen? Yes. No. Belgium.
I don't think the formulation is precise enough because there are no communities listed in the register. For instance, so I don't think the text is finalized yet.
Okay, Tim.
I think practitioners and community associated with us, but between associated practitioners and communities. No, associated practitioners of so is a process of support exchange between associated practitioners and communities of good practices in of the register's good practices. Does that satisfy now? Good safeguarding practices. Good safeguarding practices.
It's your
should be.
proposal.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's just trying to close that loop. Yeah. Again, this is a recommendation. This is not a text adopted by the committee.
No, it's not. But do we have any comments from? I saw
Yes.
Switzerland raise their sign, and then Saudi Arabia.
Si nous voulons être vraiment précis et en ligne avec les dénominations de la Convention, ça serait entre les communautés, groupes et ou applicables individus impliqués dans des programmes, projets ou activités enregistrés sur le registre des bonnes pratiques de sauvegarde. Si on veut être très complet, c'est ça l'appellation qu'il faudrait avoir.
OK. Oui. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Or can they send it and we fix it before it goes to the
with the chair?
With the chair, we fix it with the chair afterwards. If Switzerland sends us that
yes.
formulation, we fix it.
Yes. Switzerland, would you be satisfied if the Secretariat and me fix this in the before it's finalized? Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Saudi Arabia.
Yes. Saudi Arabia, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like the name Saudi Arabia to be added to the list of countries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Okay. So now I think we've finally reached consensus on...
Yeah, this one.
Yeah?
Adopt this one.
Paragraph 17. And then we should adopt the whole recommendation. Are we ready to adopt it as a whole? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Let me say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this very efficient and productive meeting of the open-ended intergovernmental group, one day ahead, in the framework of the reflection on a broader implementation of Article 18. We reached consensus on a set of recommendations that will be further examined by the 18th session of the Intergovernmental Committee, and it will meet in December this year. And I think we're all very much looking forward to gathering Kasane in beautiful Botswana in December. So I therefore would like to extend my thanks to all of you for the trust you have bestowed on me by electing me as chairperson for this meeting and for this working group. And I wish to congratulate you all for your constructive, fruitful contributions during the meeting. And I think your commitment and your willingness to work together in the spirit of consensus has made my work very easy and thoroughly rewarding. But it wouldn't be possible without the members of the Bureau. I thank very much the vice chairpersons, that is Estonia, Peru, Philippines, Angola, and Morocco. And I would like to warmly thank them for contributing to and supporting this meeting, and in particular for helping the preparation of the draft recommendations, which we just decided upon. And I would like to appreciate the work of the technicians, the interpreters who have facilitated our work, and not least Tim, Fumiko, and all of the secretariat who has made a tremendous job with high quality as always. So, dear colleagues, I would like to thank you one last time for your contributions to this meeting, and I wish every one of you a nice summer break. So I declare the open-ended intergovernmental working group closed. Thank you.
Good. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We did it in 2 days. And it went pretty